One of our favorite family stories is tied to this lesson from the 32nd chapter of Exodus and the story of the golden calf. 1969, Pat and I are living in Krueger, Indiana with our two exceptional children, Becky 5 and Andrew 3, and we are expecting our third child. Pat has been overdue in each of the first pregnancies, a procrastinator for sure. And the birth that was expected and planned for early in the week has been delayed, and the weekend is approaching. I had thought ahead and finished my sermon very early that week, wanting time to savor the birth of our third child. The lectionary lesson for that Sunday was Exodus chapter 32, and the sermon had been thought about for a couple of weeks and was all put to bed. Well, Matthew was born on Saturday afternoon. Another boy, another big boy, another big 9.5-pound boy. On Sunday morning, the congregation was excited. Another baby in the congregation. It was going to be wonderful. And the very, very clever sermon title that had been selected a couple of weeks ahead of that time, referring to Aaron's denial of accountability for the golden calf, the sermon title was, "And There Came Out This Calf." I thought that was a really clever title. And Pat is only slowly forgiving me for making the connection. Well, the golden calf story is a classic Hebrew story. Classic. This ragtag collection of runaway Hebrew slaves has fled from the endless work of building pyramids and other public buildings for the pharaohs in Egypt. And they are finding that their new freedom out in the wilderness is in fact a mixed blessing. Yes, they did not need to show up for work every morning. And yes, they were now free to go wherever they pleased. But no one was paying them. And no one was feeding them. And no one was providing them lodging. No longer living in the city, they were nomads in the wilderness. And their leaders, Moses and his brother Aaron, are charismatic leaders, yes, but they are rather austere characters. Moses often leaves the campgrounds for some sort of meeting with God, seeking advice and reassurance and comfort. And when Moses is gone, the people begin to grumble. These folks out in the wilderness need some sort of entertainment, perhaps a circus of some sort, something to escape this seemingly endless wilderness journey, this endless trek to some distant destination that they have heard about, but is a long way off. Since Moses is absent, brother Aaron is in charge. And the people say to Aaron, we need something tangible. We need something we can feel and touch to reassure ourselves that we are in fact in a good place and that we are on a good journey. So let's make something real, some representation of a godly presence to brighten the bleak outdoor adventure that we are tiring from. And yes, Moses has been gone for quite a while this time. And perhaps Moses is not coming back. Never. Perhaps we ought to think about plan B. Life without Moses. Aaron took some gold from them, formed it into a mold, and cast an image of a calf. And the people said, "These are our gods, O Israel, who brought us out of the land of Egypt." And they began to party. Well, apparently nothing escapes the view of God, huddling with Moses up on the mountain. And God tells Moses to hurry back down, for those Hebrews, those people God had saved from Egypt, have run amok. God says, "I will destroy them, this ungrateful lot." Perhaps Moses can somehow find some other people to carry out God's good intentions, but this headstrong gang will be history. I will wipe them off the face of the earth. And so Moses argues with God, argues for the Hebrews. Give them another chance. Forgive their foolishness, their stupid calf creature. Something good can perhaps still come from this train wreck. And the Lord changed his mind about the disaster that he planned to bring on his people. Another story of God's patience with God's people, thank goodness. Another insight into the forgiving, gracious heart of God. Another story that tells us how God is God and not like us. In this story, Aaron is the fall guy. He's supposed to be the adult in charge when Moses leaves for these consultations with God. But Aaron goes along with the crowd. "Bring me the gold earrings that you have. Let's make a mold of a calf creature. And when the casting is cool, we will have something tangible, something we can touch, to represent the God who has saved us from our plight in Egypt." And all that may sound innocent enough, just some distraction from this desert life, something to remind us of why we are here in this wilderness place, something to represent God. Well, Moses is most unhappy when he shows up and he takes on his brother Aaron. "What did this people do to you, Aaron, that you have brought so great a sin upon them?" You see, Moses wants to blame the people for the calf, wondering how they tricked Aaron into going along with this foolishness. And Aaron takes the opening and absolves himself. This is a little later in that 32nd chapter. "You know the people, that they are bent on evil. They said to me, 'Make us gods who shall go before us.' As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So I said to them, 'Whoever has gold, take it off.' So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf." Doesn't it sound like innocence? We just threw it in the fire, and out came this calf. No personal responsibility here, no owning up to his personal participation. It just happened. Throw some gold into the fire, and there came out this calf. So Brother Aaron is the poster child for the "don't blame me, the devil made me do it" excuses that humans have been using for a long, long time. I just happened to be in the area. It was all very innocent, as you would understand if you'd been here. Everyone was doing it. No big harm. No big deal. It's a classic Hebrew story. great insight into the human psyche and into each of us. So you contrast this classic Hebrew story with the words of Paul in his letter to the Philippians. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there's anything worthy of praise, think on these things. Keep on doing the things you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the peace of God, which passes all human understanding, will be with you. And so the contrast is from self-serving excuse-making, Aaron and others, to taking personal responsibility for ourselves, what we do, what we think, how we conduct ourselves. Yes, there are some things that do happen to us and around us, and we bear little personal responsibility for the outcomes. That's true. We are not always responsible when things go wrong. Not always. There is always a randomness to life that mystifies us, and it's not always clear who or what is to blame about some things that happen. But certainly one of the distinctive marks of maturity is the willingness to be accountable for our actions. That growing up means growing into accountability. A willingness to say when it's appropriate, my fault. I did it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Paul reminds the Philippians that Christian maturity is reflected in a life shaped by what is true and honorable, what is just and pure, what is pleasing and commendable. And those may look like soft virtues, virtues not really suitable for the rough and tumble of the real world in which you and I live. But think about it. What is more demanding? These soft virtues that keep us open to the others who share this gift of life with us, bringing hurt but also blessing in the process as our lives bump into each other, and sometimes we hurt them, and sometimes we are blessed. Or hard responses to others, which only hardens the edges of human relationships and sets us off against each other with just a new round of winners and losers and disappointments and hurts. So friends, remember the story of Aaron and the golden calf. For Aaron is part of your family tree, part of my family tree. Yes. But remember also the words of the Apostle Paul, finding a reason to rejoice in this, your and my life journey, enmeshed together as we are. May we find meaning and challenge every day, seeking out what is true and honorable, and what is just and pure, and what is pleasing and commendable. We're all in this together. I need you and you need us. We need each other. not only this community, but many other communities in which you live. Be that person who brings those soft virtues of humanity into the interactions of everyday life. Amen.